Okay, if I had £1 for every time that someone said to me they'd missed the Bitcoin boat, I would have a ridiculous amount of money. And I would take all those pounds and, of course, put them into Bitcoin. And this is why I'm kind of making this episode, because the thing is that it's not about being early. It's about understanding what's still to come within Bitcoin. So this episode, I'm going to break down why Bitcoin is the most asymmetric opportunity of our life and why understanding it now could change how you see everything. So let's get straight into it. Asymmetric opportunity. What is this? Because I didn't know what it was. And in its simplest form, it is when the upside is much greater than the downside. And people use this in investing quite a lot, saying that there is minimal risk for a lot of reward. But asymmetric opportunities aren't just about investing. And that's how I like to think of them, is outside of the Bitcoin outside of an investing point of view, because they're about seeing the world differently before everyone else does. It's about those rare moments in life when something looks small, it looks strange, it looks irrelevant, but over time, it gradually gets intertwined into society, into industries, economies, and our lives. It's kind of like when you look, to make it a little bit relatable, although this is different to Bitcoin, Amazon back in 2000, 2001, when people thought online shopping was a joke, they'd seen the world differently. They'd seen where the world was going. Also, the internet in the 90s, when people mocked emails. Look at us now. We use emails daily. And also, like, early smartphones, electric cars, early AI, and now Bitcoin. These moments don't come around that often. And when they do, they're rarely packaged up in a way that makes sense right away. You have to properly zoom out and let go of the status quo, the old status quo, and be willing just to explore something new before the rest of the world catches up. And this is where I see Bitcoin. And this is why it's an asymmetric opportunity. So let's simplify it a little bit and use Bitcoin and gold. And this is where it might make a little bit more sense to people. So gold has a market cap of 22.4 trillion. These numbers are as of today, the 17th of March. $22.4 trillion. Bitcoin's market cap is $1.6 trillion. And Bitcoin's trading around $85,000. So Bitcoin would need to increase roughly 13.3 times in value to match gold. And if it was the same market cap as gold, you'd see per coin $1.1 million per coin. So this is just a straightforward comparison between these two, gold and Bitcoin, because they get compared fairly regularly, because Bitcoin gets grouped into a store of value, and gold is seen as a strong store of value. So you have to ask yourself, which one is easier to move? Which one is easier to store? Which one is more scarce? Which one is being adopted by institutions, sovereign funds, nation states, you name it? Then you can see that, oh, it might actually surpass gold and leave gold for dust, because it's different to gold. Bitcoin is a global, open, distributed protocol. It then moves into the realm of being a currency rather than how a lot of people just view it today as just an asset. But when you compare these two, this is a nice way of just looking at the ground that it has to make up just to match gold and live up to how people like to call it, digital gold. But when you go further into Bitcoin, you realize that it's actually a lot more than just digital gold. And then another example I want to bring in here, because I'm always told that I should, or when I was being brought up, it was go to school, go to university, start a family, buy a house. And now I don't really want to buy a house. And for decades, people have used properties not just as a home to live in, but as a store of wealth, because they're scarce. Property is scarce because banks love to just lend against it, and because it's just seen as a safe place to park your money. But what people don't realize is that a big part of the value of real estate or property today isn't about what it does, living in it. It's about the monetary premium that is put onto property. That's the extra value people assign to an asset, not because of its utility of being able to start a family, live in it, which is, I'm not saying that's not important, by the way, but it's because of its role as a wealth storage tool. But now that monetary premium is starting to break down because people are moving their capital from physical assets to digital assets. And as people search for more liquid, mobile, transparent stores of wealth, because when you compare that to a house, they're very illiquid, very, especially in the UK at the moment, it's difficult to sell property in certain areas. You cannot just pick up, they're not mobile. You can't just pick up your home and move country. And transparency, yeah, don't know what I'm going to say about that one. But we're seeing property slowly reprice to its true utility value, which is where it should go, of being a home, being a place to start a family, and taking away that extra monetary premium that is placed on top of it as people look for places to park their wealth. And I want to bring in here is a recent article that I read, and I will put it in the show notes, the description below, and it's by Ray Dalio. So this is someone who's spent their whole career studying macro cycles, the breakdown of governments and nations, markets, power shifts. And one of the lines within this article stuck with me. And it said, let me just read it. We are seeing a classic breakdown of the major monetary, political, and geopolitical orders. This sort of breakdown only happens once in a lifetime, but it has happened many times before in history. So he's saying that most people are focused on the short-term headlines like tariffs, elections, inflation, but the real story is much bigger. And when you dive into Bitcoin, as many people are doing, you realize this because you zoom out. It forces you to zoom out and see the bigger picture. We're seeing monetary systems are being stretched. They're being overloaded with debt. Political systems are becoming more divided, fragile. Geopolitical tensions are rising massively at the moment. And technology is accelerating, disrupting governments, markets, industries, nations that can't respond to it fast enough. We are seeing 100 years of change with crammed into 10 years because of technological advancements. And what Ray Dalio says in this article is these aren't isolated events. They are part of a big cycle, and one we've seen before, and one that usually leads to some kind of reset. And I just want to reiterate here that the biggest risk in this kind of environment, when everything's so fragile, is not having Bitcoin. because it is outside of the system and cannot be manipulated, controlled within all this chaos that's going on. And it's easy to feel overwhelmed. But as I said, zooming out is so important. And you realize that we're also living through one of the most exciting times in history. Like, I'm forever an optimist. I'm not a pessimist. Like, I always see the hope, the good things that are happening, whereas a lot of people I talk to always jump to the negative straight away. But I think it's important to jump to the positive straight away and also look at what's happening negatively with it. But think of this, you can build a company from your kitchen table now. Like, this wasn't possible 20, 30 years ago. You can spin up, you can have an idea, you can spin it up with AI doing 80% of the work, and you're just doing the other 20. There are businesses now with just a handful of people with billions of revenue. It's insane what is happening now. And the important thing is, like, being open-minded enough to see this. And I'm going to bring in Jeff Booth here. So if you haven't read Jeff Booth's book, I will also put that in the description below. But a thing that he always talks about is the two systems. You have a fiat system, which is chaos and scarcity of resources. And you also have a Bitcoin system, which is calm and abundance of resources, and where everything is getting cheaper within this Bitcoin system because you're using Bitcoin to price everything else rather than using the dollar or the pound or the yen to price everything, because they're devaluing at a ridiculous rate. So of course everything is going to go up if you are pricing it against not so, I won't use any swear words, but not such a good currency. So I just want to finish this with, most people will miss this because they're looking for certainty. They see Bitcoin as being risky, whereas everyone inside Bitcoin sees everything else but Bitcoin as being risky. And it's about taking time to learn to zoom out how the world is changing, being open, and to actually see this asymmetry. I hope you enjoyed this episode. It's a little bit different to what I usually do, but I just wanted to come on and give my thoughts, because my podcasts are always me focusing on the other person, and I wanted to have an episode just where I put my thought. I put a lot out on Twitter, on LinkedIn, and I don't really record it. I write it all down because that's a good way for me to just how my brain works, and it's a lot easier. But I wanted to put some of these together and put it into an episode for you. So I hope you enjoyed. Please share this on social media. Please put some comments down below if you enjoyed it, and subscribe wherever you are watching it, because that really helps support the channel and me. And I also write a weekly newsletter, which summarizes everything that's happening in Bitcoin that week, but very skimmable. So I make it, you can read the whole thing within less than 4 minutes, because that's what I wanted and I couldn't find it, so I just created it. So thank you very much for tuning in to this one. I hope you enjoyed and have a great weekend.